Hello everybody and welcome to our webinar, Business Analysis and Customer Experience, an essential combination for success. My name is Chris Martin and I'm going to be your host today. The purpose of this webinar is, as the title suggests, to look at the combination of business analysis and customer experience and how they can be used to create a positive customer experience for your organization. In the age of digital transformation, it's become critical for organizations to continually enhance their customer experience. This includes service design, enhancement of processes, and innovation through technology to offer engaged, responsive, and personalized experiences across the customer experience journey. To help explore this subject, we are very fortunate to have an exceptionally experienced panel join us for this session. Our first panelist is Dr. Debbie Paul, who is the Managing Director of Assist Knowledge Development. Debbie is a regular speaker at business seminars and co-authored the best-selling BCS publication, Business Analysis.
Thank you, Chris. Pleased to be here.
Our second panelist is Jonathan Hunsley, who is a Principal Consultant at Assist Knowledge Development. Jonathan is an experienced business analyst and business architecture consultant and trainer.
Thanks, Chris. I'm delighted to be here to talk about this interesting subject.
Finally, our third panelist is Sandra Leek, who is a highly experienced business analyst and 2014's BA of the Year.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for asking me to be part of the panel. Should be a good one.
Thank you all for joining us. So, to start us off, I have a question for Jonathan. Jonathan, what role can a business analyst play in helping an organization improve its customer experience?
Hi, Chris. Thanks for that. Really interesting question. And I think there are a couple of facets that are really important when considering customer experience and its relationship with business analysis. The first facet, I think, is the business analyst needs to be a role model for customer experience for their internal customers. And this is really key, because if the business analyst is going to influence customer experience as it exists within the organization, they need to live and breathe this as a subject. And so this means demonstrating empathy towards our customers, really listening to our customers, and asking for really simple things like asking for feedback on the things that we produce. And not just asking for that feedback, but then acting on that feedback in order to demonstrate that we're really serious about customer experience and that we're not a profession, we're not a discipline that's going to wait to be told how it is that we should be implementing customer experience. Then I think there's a second facet to the business analyst role as it relates to this customer experience, and that is encouraging the discussion of customer outcomes as they relate to the project work that we conduct. So this might include encouraging discussion around the different personas that would exist in terms of our customers, and bringing in techniques if the organization doesn't use personas, to bring that as a tool or technique into the organization and to play a leadership role with that in mind. Considering kind of the customer journey end to end, and making sure that simple techniques like scenario analysis have been considered in relation to that customer experience, trying as best we can to encourage our project team members to really spend a moment to think about the impact of the project and the outcomes of the project on the customer. Essentially, walking in the customer shoes as much as we can.
Thank you, Jonathan. Sandra, have you got anything to add on this topic?
Yes, I have, Chris. I think one of the most important roles that we have as analysts in an organisation is as ambassadors, not only for the business analysis profession, but as liaison between our business teams, our project teams, and our customers. So I think it's really important as an analyst that we use our ambassadorial skills the ability to talk to different people, the ability to talk to different levels of people, right down from director at the top of an organisation, right down to our customers and our users, to understand what that customer experience should feel like for our people, how it should work, what are the pros and cons to doing things certain ways. So I think the business analysis has a huge role to play in customer experience, and I think we're ideally placed to get the best out of any project or initiative that we're involved in.
Do you agree with that, Debbie?
I do, definitely. And I think one other thing I'd also add is experienced and skilled business analysts can be very good at being quite innovative, at looking at situations, not only understanding customers, as Jonathan said, and taking that ambassadorial role, as Sandra said, but also thinking through what are the possibilities here? What else could we do? What could be better? And I think that is another really strong angle that a business analyst can bring in the customer experience area.
Excellent. Thanks for that, everyone. Very interesting perspectives from all of you. My next question is made up of two parts. Firstly, does delivering great customer experience involve big spending? And secondly, is there a budget-friendly way of streamlining and improving customer experience within an organization, or is it better to invest in this area to improve growth? Maybe we can start with Debbie on this one.
Okay, the short answer is no, it isn't necessary to go in for big spending. All organizations need to look at customer experience and need to look at all of the different touch points. And it's amazing how sometimes just small changes can have a very, very strong impact. To give you an example, sometimes, we might experience dealing with organizations where it's not very good. And actually, that can sometimes be because the people who we're encountering, maybe the culture of the organization is leading to poor morale, maybe communication hasn't been very clear on what's expected of them, and maybe there just hasn't been discussion within the organization on having a customer focus. So putting some communications in place, clarifying to people on the front line, if you like, that they are on the front line, that they're the shop window, and therefore what they need to do is exemplify the values of the organization, is not a major investment, but it can reap huge rewards. Another thing that I think sometimes organizations overlook is that if the people on the front line are expected to offer excellent customer experience when delivering services, then actually so do all of the other people. And sometimes what you also need is the senior management or the more senior staff, not only talking customer experience, but actually embedding that in the way that they work and they think about things within the organization. So this doesn't have to be about introducing a new super product or a new really innovative service. It can be about touch points where small things make a big difference. But having said all of that, organizations always need to invest. They have to continue investing, not for growth, but just for survival in today's business world, which is changing so quickly, and where digital innovation is something that all organizations have to think about, and customers are expecting more and more, and as they should. So yes, there is a need for organizations to also consider their investment. And again, it doesn't have to be multi-million pounds or dollars, because actually some organizations just aren't at that scale. But that doesn't mean that investments can't be made to improve or to develop new products that really can help with the customer experience when the customers are working with the organizations. So I think it's important that organizations and the staff within it understand the service view. They understand what is it that we deliver, what is the value proposition that our organisation says it offers? What are the expectations of our customers? What are the needs of our customers? And how can we pull all that together?
That's an excellent answer. Thank you very much, Debbie. Jonathan, what do you feel about this subject?
So I'd echo the points that Debbie's made, and completely agree that to implement some small changes that demonstrate that we're listening and we are empathetic to our customers. Some of these things don't cost a great deal of money. It could be as much as encouraging those on the shop floor on the front line to smile, to greet the customer in an energetic and enthusiastic way, if that's what the customer feedback suggests that we should do. The point that Debbie's just made there with regard to what's the risk of not doing this and not making an investment in listening and responding to customer feedback. Well, overall, we're at risk of going out of business, and for me, this is quickly becoming something that, rather than being a nice to have for an organisation or one of these buzzword concepts, this is going to be integral to the strategy and the execution of change, of programs, of our operations within our organisations. And if we don't do this, then unfortunately it very much limits the lifespan of the organisation. I really do think this is key.
Well, Sandra, I've met you several times before, and I know you always like smiling. So I feel sure that you agree with Jonathan on this subject.
Absolutely. I think a smile can just change the whole way that you deliver your customer experience. I think the points Debbie and Jonathan have made are absolutely correct. You don't have to spend a lot. Sometimes it can be the simple things that work. For example, I've worked with an organisation recently that installed a callback system for people that were hanging on the line on their customer service calls for half an hour or more, and they've introduced a callback system, so you just press a button and they'll call you back. Something as straightforward as that can make all the difference, because they're not dealing with irate people on the phone that have been waiting for 30 minutes. They're suddenly calling them back when people have calmed down, and it's something simple like that that can make all the difference. And I think the other thing to realise is we need to understand who our customers are. So, for example, on a project on perhaps one of the bigger organisations, one of the wide-reaching projects, your customers can be the users, and they can be the customers that are actually buying the product. So we need to realise who our customers are as well, and deliver a great customer experience to everybody, and listen to these people. I think that is the most important thing. We have to listen to our customers to understand what they need to make their lives easier and what they need to make their day a good day.
Thank you, Sandra. Couldn't agree more. So everyone, I think I know the answer to this question that I'm going to get, but I'd like to hear it from you, please. Do you think it's important to have a good connection with your customer to ensure great customer experience? And if so, how do you go about creating this? If I can put this back to you, Sandra, what are your thoughts on this?
I think it's absolutely essential to have a great connection with your customers. As I said, firstly, you need to understand who those customers are. You need to understand what their focus is, and you need to understand what they need to help them do their job, to help them buy the products, etc. And for me, I think the best way of getting to know your customers is actually talking to them. You know, it's very easy to pop an email out or to read a customer survey and think, yeah, I absolutely know what's going on. But I don't think any of that is a substitute for actually talking to people and understanding their views. How many times have we read an email and then spoken to somebody about it and they didn't actually mean what you read it as? So I think it's absolutely vital to talk to people. And they have a face then as well. They understand that somebody is looking out for them. Somebody is looking at what they want from their experience and making sure it'll happen. Sometimes we can't make sure it happens the way they want it, but at least we've listened to them. At least we've taken their views into account. So for me, I think if you can have that conversation, sometimes you can't, but if you can, I think that makes all the difference to what people want and what people understand is going to happen, and to keep that rapport with people. So, you know, it's not just a one-off conversation, it's making sure you keep them engaged, that they know what's happening, they know, you know, what's going to happen in the future, what changes are going to happen, how their views are being taken care of. And I think it's absolutely vital, and it makes such a difference to any initiative or change that you want to make in an organisation, whether it be a big or a small organisation.
Thank you, Sandra. I mean, at a very basic level, I had an experience earlier this week talking to a computer who was taking all my details down. And no matter how wonderful this computer experience was trying to make it, I really did feel like I was talking to a brick wall and that there was no one really listening, even though it was a process of making a payment. So I completely agree with you. You know, a personal connection seems really, really important to me. And is important to me. Debbie, do you agree with that?
I really do. And, you know, it's something that we quite often say at Assist is, you know, people like to work with people. And that's all about the emotional connection. And, you know, if you think about the business analysis toolkit, one of the techniques that we often consider is looking at different stakeholders' worldview. Well, customers are a type of stakeholder, and I completely agree with Sandra, and there are many different types of customers, so we need to understand that as well. And sometimes standing in their shoes and looking at the world from their worldview really can open up different ideas, different concerns that they may have, and different ways of engaging with the customer. And another technique, of course, is empathy mapping, where you actually think about, you know, what is a customer, maybe this particular persona, what are they thinking and feeling? What are they saying, but what's maybe behind what they're talking about? Taking on board those types of techniques is where business analysis really can make a difference when organizations are seeking to improve their customer experience. And they help us to connect with the customers and make sure that the organizations do the best job in this arena that they can.
Yes, putting yourself in other people's shoes really is a brilliant way to understand exactly how you think they might be feeling. I agree. Jonathan, you've got a lot of experience in this area as a business analyst. What do you feel?
So I agree with the sentiment of the, you know, the comments being made, and I think you know, the listening and the empathy and the rapport, and doing that in a way that doesn't infringe on the customer's expectations. So it might be that for a particular customer, they don't really want to chat. They just want the service delivered as promised, or the outputs delivered as promised, and they want a quick transactional kind of experience with the organization. They maybe don't want to share life stories and build deep and meaningful rapport. And so for me, it's kind of, we should be able to think about that type of individual customer as a persona and have our processes and our outputs set up in a way so that we do what we say and deliver against that expectation. But if the customer does want, and the feedback's telling us that they do want more of a connection, that they do want more meaningful kind of involvement with the organisation, then we should be able to flex our approach based upon that individual customer's needs. So one aspect is the you know, the empathy map that was just mentioned. You know, what are they saying, and what also what are they not saying? What is it that they're really, what their needs are, and what these may be stated or implied. There's some fantastic models that are out there to help us to think about this from their perspective. And the other thing I'd like to bring up is that the business analyst should be thinking about what's the data telling us around trends with regard to the customer journey. what data have we got? For example, if we're capturing feedback from the customers after transactions using something like Net Promoter Score, what's that data telling us, and what is it that the trends are that can help us to identify how we may improve as an organisation? Another thing that I find really useful is looking at complaints data. What's causing the complaints, and can we, as business analysts, look at the root causes for those complaints to see if we can really empathise with the customers. And this isn't easy. It's really hard work and takes a lot of commitment. But if we're going to build that great connection, we need that variability in our approach. We've got to continually listen and act on and improve upon the feedback that we are provided.
Thank you, Jonathan. This is obviously a huge topic, and we could spend a long time discussing this. Very interesting. I think we've just got time for one more question. I'd like to direct it to Debbie, if I may. I have often contacted local tradespeople about doing work, leaving messages, but receiving no response. Do you think CX is something that applies to small businesses as well as large enterprises?
Yes, I very much do. And it's interesting because I have experienced that type of scenario myself, as have various other people I know. And I think it's a great shame, because actually businesses of any size, if you want to make sure that the business is successful, you have to engage and you have to communicate. And if you are too busy to do the work, or if you're not interested in that particular piece of work, at least let people know. It doesn't take a lot of effort to just, answer a phone call or send a quick email or something like that, just to let people know so that they're not hanging on. And I think that when people work in business and they just don't respond, that actually can have a very detrimental impact on the level of customer experience that both potential and real customers actually feel they're getting. And that can have quite long-term impacts, because people will tell other people. So I think for a successful business, no matter what size, no matter what service area that you're working in, if you treat customers and potential customers with respect, then actually they will really be pleased about that, and they're much more inclined to tell people that you're a good organisation.
Thanks, Debbie. So we've taken some fantastic points from this session today, and it's been very interesting to hear different insights into the topic. Sadly, our time is up, so it really just leaves me to say thanks to our panelists, Debbie, Jonathan and Sandra, for your time. I hope you've enjoyed this session, and thank you very much for listening.